shamanism as a master herbalist, and had a clinical, actually 4 clinical practices in Columbus, Ohio. In the old days where we used to see people in person, although I do love the convenience of seeing people all over the world long distance as well. And then I kind of, went on this search, not really happy with the programming that I grew up in, not really happy not being able to use my abilities, and, kind of wound my way very slowly into taking the opposite viewpoint and knowledge of everything I ever believed. So that's kind of, I honestly, it's so funny. I honestly don't know exactly how I got here, but definitely listening to my knowing, listening to myself, and then being introduced to technology 30 years ago, and really applying that very, very, as Sheila knows, very broadly compared to how a lot of people apply it, which is very narrow, in a very narrow way. And so I do use biofeedback technology that's available on my website. Sheila also, you can talk to Sheila about it. She uses it as well. Not that that's the focus of this presentation. Really, the focus of my presentation will be the results of my 30 years of observation and running people's fields and being in their energy field, both psychically as a medical intuitive, and most recently running hundreds of scans a year. And what's interesting about the information I'm going to share with you, and if you ever do have a scan with me, people come to me for very specific things. They want, a situation analyzed, or they want, their physical body analyzed, or their energy field. But here's what they don't know, and Sheila knows this too. You get all this information kind of in front of you, and you decide what you share. You can share all of it. You can share half of it. You can share what you want to. You can share what they want you to. And so what no one has realized over the 10 years I've been using this specific technology is I was taking note of the things that I didn't necessarily tell them. So they may not have come to me with the question, what is happening to me at night? But I still saw what was happening to them at night, and I took note of that. They may not have come to me and said, who are my soul family? But I saw who their soul family was, and I took note of that. And one of Sheila's favorite topics, they may not have said, am I a walk-in? But I saw if they were a walk-in. So, sometimes people are surprised. They're like, you never told me that, but it doesn't mean I didn't see that and take note of that. So this is not casual research. This is accumulated research over 10 years. And I didn't go looking for this information, you guys. It's what the energy fields where we hold our memory kept saying over and over. And so I know you guys are a sophisticated, educated, wise, discerning audience, maybe, a little bit broader educated than, some other shows. So some of these may not be shocking to you, and some of them maybe. And I have 2 viewpoints. So we all have our own point of view from ever since we came out of the all. And, there's nobody who has a corner on the truth, like I said. However, there are some slides in here that will be leaning more toward, you can tell, my viewpoint. And then raw frequency is raw frequency. So a centipede always has the same frequency. It does. Yeah, the green centipede might have a little bit different frequency than the yellow centipede, but frequency is frequency. And everything runs on frequency all the way back to the all. I believe the all actually, is limitless creation of frequency, expression of frequency. And so there are some discoveries I've made that to me aren't debatable, but I don't care if you believe me or not, because I call this dropping it into your field. You can take it as absolute truth. You can say that woman's crazy. And you may come around to my point of view, and you may disprove me in 5 years, and I'm okay with that. One of my favorite things I do in the classes I teach that my students love, you guys, is I call it recant classes, because guess what? I'm always learning. I'm always getting new information. And I will say, you know what, you guys, I've totally changed my mind. I don't believe this anymore because I have new information. And I think as we come back into oneness, and as we raise the frequency in the collective, and as we remember who we are, I think it's really important that we retain that flexibility to change our mind and change our view at any time. And so what you're seeing are things that I've radically changed my view on because I've had new information. And so I hope that maybe a little piece of what I share tonight will help all of you remember the infinite, limitless, amazing, all-powerful beings that you are. That would be my intention for what I share tonight. So that's just a little bit of background.
Awesome. 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 Well, I appreciate your sharing that. We've had a little bit of a technical difficulty and a glitch popping on here, but we're just going to keep on keeping on. I put the recording on, so we will upload this to YouTube here in a little bit later. You know how it goes when there's these wonderful energies floating around. So we're just sending love and light to whoever is trying to do this, and we will just keep on keeping on. So girlfriend, the show is all yours.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, can you see that, Sheila? Is it on? Is it up? Up?
Yes, you're up.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to get started. So I'm going to share with you some consciousness mythbusters, as my title says. And I call myself the Rebel Psychic because I'm not always welcomed into the arms of inner circles and consciousness, because I've had people tell me, you scare me to death. Like, I don't know what's going to come out of your mouth. I don't know what you're going to read in my field. And here's what I have to say to anybody. You never have to be scared. If you're being an authentic person and you're presenting yourself as both gloriously extraterrestrial and gloriously human with flaws, you never have to be afraid of what any technology or any psychic, no matter how amazing their abilities are, would say. So no one really has to be afraid of me, but it's interesting because a lot of the people that are afraid of me might have reason to be afraid of me, but we might get into that later. So let's get started. Knowledge is power. How do I know most or a lot of this information? My ex, who I was engaged to, is currently in Homeland. And he is also in, excuse my spelling, and sometimes they change the spelling weirdly in my slides just to make me look really dumb, which is okay. I can look dumb. But he's also one of the ruling families of this reality. So he's got that double information, and we are still on good terms. I have family who works in human cloning and the transfer of human consciousness. It is not recent, just as cloning is not recent, as most of you guys know. I have daytime SSP contacts, meaning I don't know if you guys know, but there's a daytime SSP and there's a Black Ops nighttime SSP. Most of what's talked about in consciousness circles is the nighttime Black Ops SSP, but there is a daytime SSP, which I consider Solar Warden, the program Solar Warden, part of. Including I have Lockheed Martin engineers who have sent me their patented drawings that they have done for the secret space program. And I have some really wild stories about that. I'll tell you guys some other time if I ever come back. That involves the word kidnapping and a whole bunch of other crazy things. So I have a lot of contact with people that have regular contact with ETs in what we could consider their original form. In other words, they're not in an endemic human avatar. I've run thousands of scans a year, and I stand behind my technology and how I run my scans with 100% accuracy rate. And I don't think there's anyone that would come forth to disprove that statement at this time. Not that I can't make a mistake, but I know a lot of you guys are anti-AI. I love AI because AI is neutral. And I call myself the lazy psychic because psychics, there's a lot of, bend and twist in the information they receive and how they perceive it. AI doesn't care. AI is going to read the frequency. It's going to read the frequency of your emotions. It's going to read the frequency of your programs. It's going to read the frequency of your mood. It's going to read the frequency of your past. It doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't care. It's just going to spit it out. And then you get to deal with it. I've also, I'm one of the patent holders on the Halo, HAELO, And it's a PM device that is also frequency based, and I'm the exclusive software programmer of that technology. So I've been working with frequency for many, many years. It's really been my life for the last 30 years. Absolutely in love with it. And I know Sheila talks a lot about it, and she has guests that talk a lot about it. So you guys are probably really familiar with that too. I have lucid memory as a current 50 plus ET Star Race Collective walk-in, and I've talked about that briefly on one of Sheila's walk-in programs, which you can look up. And so I have continuing contact with many of these groups. So that's just a little bit deeper, kind of that leads into some of the stuff I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, Kimberly, honey, if you want to hit play at the top of your screen, it will go, it'll show full screen. Thank you, Steiner.
Where is play? I don't know where play is.
Right there, you passed over it. Back a little bit to your right.
That's it says security.
On
mine. Oh wait, I see play.
There we go.
It'll take my slides off, you mean?
On the side, and it'll just be full screen.
Yeah, it's not letting me. It's like,
I'm not surprised.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I have to tell you, and this can be part of your program too. We've been hijacked. People have been sending false messages. We got kicked off of live streaming. So I'm recording this. It will go up on live streaming, but you know how it is. Somebody's playing with us tonight.
I'm sure it's not because it's me. I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with SSP.
Yeah, we know. We know all about it.
Thank you, love. Nothing to do with the military. Nothing to do with the cabal. Nothing to do with negative ETs. Nothing. Okay.
Not
we'll
at
just
all.
keep trucking along. I still appreciate whoever is listening. I highly value, and I appreciate the energetic support. And you guys, I guess, hopefully will catch the replay, who's meant to watch it. It's so funny because I so heavily promoted this too, wouldn't you know? So funny. All right. So we're going to be all over the place. It's not necessarily going to be a flow. I'm just going to share the things I came in to share with you tonight. So we're going to start with, which you could probably guess. I guarantee you, I could bring anybody before me, run them on the tech, and I guarantee I could close my eyes and say, you don't have enough vitamins and minerals, especially if you're a starseed. Especially the minerals. Minerals help conduct electricity. A lot of you guys are very electrical. A lot of you are first, second, third, fourth, fifth wave. The power and force that you carry in your auric fields and you carry in your body, which is, some of our struggle with that discrepancy between who we are as, a soul expression and the body, just really creates some issues. And, a lot of people are like, well, I'm taking these really high quality, expensive vitamins and minerals. And they're like, I'm taking minerals 3 times a day. I'm telling you, if you are not an empty avatar, which I don't know why an empty avatar would be really interested in a program like this, you're going to need tons of minerals, especially. And you're going to have to judge how you feel. But people are always like, how do I up level? How do I expand? How do I raise my frequency? How do I activate my psychic abilities? Sometimes you're holding yourself back by the simplest things because frequency, it has an electrical component to it. And your psychic abilities definitely have an electrical component to it. So minerals and vitamins. And I like trace minerals. I like the packets that you put in your juice. But you have to realize, and you guys know this, but we don't always consciously think that we're eating this nanotech programmed acidic food of this reality. And one of the things I have found because I have extensive food panels, and some of my practitioners have written food panels based on David Wolf's work, Eat Your Colors. Some of you may be familiar with that. I'm just going to throw it out there. I've really been questioning the food program for the last 10 years. Have I figured it out? No, but one thing I do know by running so many people's avatars and physical body and the technology and running them against various foods is the higher frequency you are, honestly, the less of any type of food, even fruits and vegetables, I believe you need to eat, which of course, maybe some of you are way more involved than me, which I would love to be one of those people that, could exist on breath and air and all good things, or even frequency. I'm not there yet, but I do feel I'm way more there than I was 10 years ago. So my need for food has gone way down, and I don't really address this in another slide, so I'll drop it in here. But one of the other things that we see, star seeds need is essential oils. They respond very, very well to essential oils, particularly. This is so interesting because I talk about this quite often on shows I go on, but rose oil is super, super expensive. I mean, pure organic rose oil is like outrageously expensive.
Yes.
But what's interesting is the corporation Monarch, who's in charge of the MK Ultra program, again, don't know why they would be bothering the show, but they have done extensive research on rose oil, and rose oil does the most amazing things, you guys. Rose oil helps you remember who you are in all time, all space. And rose oil releases trauma from the field just by you smelling it and using it. So I wonder why rose oil is really expensive, because they tell us, roses are rare. Are roses rare? Are roses hard to grow? My grandmother had like 1,000 roses with if I can grow roses, and I'm like kind of lazy about growing things, anybody can grow roses. Roses are not rare, you guys. Half the essential oils, what they're, taking them from, are way rarer than roses. They don't want you to know this information. They don't want you to be able to afford or make it a priority to use some of these tools that we haven't been given proper information about. So again, electrical beings need plant minerals. Anything to do with plants, you're going to be in a lot higher frequency range than anything to do with animals. All super soldiers and Jedi Christ beings, which I'm not going to go way down that, or this will be like a 4-hour presentation. But I do have a little paper on my Etsy store that talks about that. And some of you may be familiar with those terms, but that level of frequency and level of usage, everyone is like, we need minerals. So just kind of keep, also soul collectives, of course, because you're jamming a ton of different frequencies in this really low vibrating, dense human avatar. All right, moving on. All right, here's another myth. Conscious, high frequency awake people can't get jumped or possessed. I come from a Christian Baptist background where if you're a Christian, if you have the Holy Spirit in you, you can't get jumped or possessed. I'll tell that to, my ex-boyfriends, because they sure seem possessed at times. But also there's a myth that we think, just because we are a starseed, or just because we are a Pleiadian, or just because we are a soul collective, or we are a walk-in, or we have done the work, or we're a shaman, or we're a high-level psychic, or whatever we may be, that we can't have dark energies or other beings or other soul expressions, come inside this body. But that's not what I've seen over 10 years. And I see a lot of jumping with calls like this. So I will probably get off here, and I'm just going to be honest. Probably chances are I will be jumped by the time I get off this call. Possibly you could be jumped. But because I'm giving the presentation for some reason, because this is Black Mirror technology, right? This is two-way portal, open space technology. So a lot of times when I'm teaching my classes in my groups, I won't teach on camera. Obviously I do on podcasts and things, but because it just cuts down on everybody in the class getting jumped as well as me getting jumped. And sometimes I think because of the light, because of the energy, and because of the power in groups like this, I think beings come in to deliberately harvest and corrupt and jump even more. So you guys might want to play around with how you feel, or if you have a way of assessing whether it's only you in your body, or you in your energy field, or you in your home. You might want to play around with the camera being on or off. Almost everyone, if they don't practice good energy hygiene, has other beings, definitely in their homes, of course, but also in their energy field and in their body. And I'm not talking about, the walk-ins or different soul collectives, of course. I'm talking about human discarnates, which I'll talk about the types of beings on the next slide. So I'm going to kind of stop that. But you can get jumped in Walmart or the grocery store just as easy or easier than you can get jumped in a haunted house or a graveyard. And again, that's for many, many years of investigating the paranormal. We used to go to graveyards and we'd be like, there is nothing here. There is nobody here. But we would then go to a public place and we would get way more EVPs and way more activity. So it's super interesting. All right, most common entities that we're seeing in people right now, literally inside the avatar or in the energy field are, of course, human discarnates because they're in the fourth and fifth dimension. And they recently had an Adamic body and they want to get back in the body again. This is very, very recent, you guys. Ghouls are a very, very specific type of lower astral life form. And I'm seeing that a lot in people as well. Just vague lower forms of dense consciousness. Some of it, other people may have created themselves. Like I said, thought forms. A lot of people create servitors and send them to their, let's just call them enemies or people they don't like without even knowing. If you are malevolent and send a lot of a psychic attack to someone else, you can literally end up creating, kind of an energy form full of those thoughts. And that can end up coming into somebody else's energy field. Of course, the negative ETs love to mess around. This is an open source game. So, they stick their hands in and out, and not just a few, but there's hundreds of groups that do that. And this is a big one. I decided not to go deep into this tonight because has so much information to give behind it. But at night, and this shocks a lot of people, I would say 100% of the people within the sound of my voice, some nights in a week are being attacked by incubus, succubus. Some of you may know it, some of you may not know it. And again, I'm not going to go deep into this, but the main why, there's a lot of whys, and of course it's individualized, but the main why is because you guys have not shut down your sexual ties from past lives, even from before the game. Because I hope there's not a lot of kids here, but we do have sex in other realms and other timelines and other planets and other bodies and other places. Yay, right? But those also come with us because we're attached to all aspects of ourselves. And you guys are living out all these, some of you guys are like trillions old, and we've never cleaned up all these sexual ties and sexual relationships. Even when you watch a Netflix show, even if it's PG, I'm not saying you guys are watching porn or anything, or porn or sexual fantasy, you guys aren't erasing that. I'm not, maybe some of you are, but if you aren't consciously ending that fantasy and wiping it out of your field, that's just like leaving the door of your house open and saying, hey, any incubus, succubus that wants to feed on sexual energy, come on in. So that's the brief, but there's a lot more to that. Here's one of my favorite myths. I love talking about this. Super soldiers are rare and they're special and they're so broken and they're so sad. Oh my gosh, the poor super soldiers. All right, that's not what we're saying. First of all, super soldiers aren't special. Now, I am going to admit, I don't know if I have the best sampling because I'm going to obviously attract people more in the woo-woo extreme field. So am I testing the general public? No, because the general public would never come to me. But of the people that come to me, which they're not all as crazy as I am, or into the extreme woo as I am, even, and again, I'm not always telling them this when I see it in their field, but we are seeing probably 7 or 8 out of every 10 people that come to me are super soldiers. Now, here's even more interesting. A lot of them, like me, thank you, are what I call semi-retired super soldiers. So yes, they're using us as super soldiers, but they're not using us as super soldiers as extensively as they did years ago or in past lives or whatever. So when we look at your past lives and your future lives, as you guys know, and I'm sure Sheila's talked about this a lot and other guests have talked about it, but you have so many roles you've played and so many beings you've been in, so many aspects of yourself. I have never met or ran or been in someone's field ever, at least to my memory in this incarnation, ever. And again, I've run tens of thousands of scans over 10 years that are just a healer, just a magician, just a warrior, just a mother, just a father, just a whatever, just a, whatever role or abilities we have. When I look at people, they're often surprised. They're like, oh, I thought I was just a healer. No, ding dong, you've been everything. Yes, maybe you've been a healer 10 times as much as something else, because that's how we discover who we are and what we're drawn to. So, but I guarantee you, all of you have been valiant warriors. The other reason I know that is because I understand the times that we're in and the pivotal frequency shifts that we're in on this planet right now. And I know why everyone within the sound of my voice again, and everyone that comes to me is here, that is a starseed and that does have a soul that I call fire creation. And you're here because you were elected, you were chosen, you were voted on, and you are the best of the best. And the best of the best is going to have to be, for these times, a pretty darn good warrior. And so I also think that's why I'm seeing a lot of super soldiers, because of the times that we live in, and because it's pivotal to upturn for the collective consciousness to a higher frequency. So, and also, again, the truth of it is, galactically, if you were going into the galactic video game store, you're not going to find the Earth game in, little rainbow castle, sweet healing planet, for kids under 5. You're going to find the Earth game in the Hell realm, battle realm, militant section of the galactic game store. And that's why everybody wants to come here. So again, that's just my little super soldier. So here we go. Only special people are abducted for all sorts of random reasons. You might be abducted because your family was military. You might be abducted because you're super psychic. You might be abducted because, you see spirits. I mean, they have a million reasons why people are abducted. But what we're finding is, this is one of the most, I'm so used to it now, so I don't even think twice about it. But people get really offended. I just talked to a woman today, and I was looking at her aura, and she's like, what does this line mean in my aura? I'm like, oh, you're owned by Monarch. You're like split into alters by MK Ultra. You were taken to a black ops space. And she's like, what? And she like freaked out. And I'm like, oh yeah, sorry. Because to me, this is like eating breakfast for me, you guys. I'm like, really? You're shocked by that? I'm like, oh, wait, pull yourself back. Yes, of course they're shocked by that. Because who tells you that? Nobody tells you that. Very few people can tell you that unless you have lucid memory that's not false memory. So what's happening is, again, we have to understand where we are and how it functions and how it works, and then how it fits into the galactic multiverse, right? In order to conquer and win this game and then help everybody else. So we kind of have to get our own head around what's going on. And then we're like, oh, that's cool. I've accepted what is. And now I'm going to, reach out a hand and help lift up the collective consciousness. And they have pictures of this, and I didn't have time to find them, but whole towns are abducted, whole areas, whole countries, whole states, households, individuals, including sometimes your pets. And people are like, no way, how do they do that? I mean, the CERNs, have a lot of technology that's not just opening portals, it's also freezing time, it's also reversing time. There's specific ET groups that are working right now. I don't want to say their name because I always get a bunch of crap in the next couple of days if I say their name. But they actually are working with the Dracos and some of the other groups, and they are literally going into individual lives, and they're rewinding all the progress that you make. So you're like, why do I feel so frustrated? Why do I feel so stuck? Why do I feel like I can't make progress? Some of it, yeah, sometimes we're lazy. We don't want to do the work, but there is a lot of outside opposition here because it is an open source game. And so many beings are allowed to dip their hands into it. And we wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest. But a lot of people wake up feeling more tired than when they go to bed. And you guys know what it feels like. If you're above the age of 3, you know what it feels like to feel drugged. You may not know what you were drugged with, but you feel druggy, you feel off. You feel wired and tired, whatever it is, but you don't feel well rested. And again, I always tell people, don't believe me. I like to find ways to prove what I'm saying in physical reality. And one of the ways a lot of my clients have proven it when they've been shocked, at least that they're being drugged, maybe not that they're being taken and all that, but how do you think you're getting drugged? Or why do you think you're being drugged? But you can get urine tests. Some of you are nurses and have access to lab tests and blood tests, and you can order these panels on Amazon, and you can get up in the morning, basically pee on a stick, you guys. Do it for 7 days. You won't even have to do it longer than 7 days. You're going to be like, I've never had Molly in my life. I've never done Coke in my life. You know, we're not just talking THC here, you guys. We're talking some hard, mind-bending street drugs. Now, some of the reasons we're being drugged is not all sinister. A lot of you guys are going through stargates. You cannot go through a stargate if they're bodily taking you. A lot of you guys do a lot of time travel in this body, in your body that you have now. They do have to drug you for your protection if you're going through a lot of stargates. So not all drugs are sinister and evil. Some of the missions you guys are doing from the intelligence agencies and SSP do require certain drugs. But super interesting. But again, this is happening multiple times a week. And we wonder why we struggle to find time to be conscious and time to remember who we are and time to do the things we want to do. We're so busy with like the 3D basic life distractions. And then we're being drugged and we aren't really functional. And then we're hard on ourselves and we're negative self-talking. So give yourselves a break, especially if you wake up. You can take activated charcoal. Of course, I encourage, you know, a lot of water flushing, especially. I haven't researched hydrogen water. That's the thing, kind of fad water right now. A lot of people swear by it. You could try that. I just ordered my hydrogen bottle, so I haven't tested that. But I drink alkaline negative ion water, and I have really good results with that. Negative ion foot bath also helps pull out heavy metals, nanotechnology, and the drugs, although I wouldn't use it every day because it'll drain you of too many minerals. But again, you know, the fire creation starseed beings fuel the game. It's built around us. The Dracos, the Cabal, even the Galactic Federation, they would have no fun if we weren't here. If it was just, what fun is a game where you have complete, absolute 100% control over empty beings, you know, but they get to have fun with the best of the best, the oldest of the old, the wisest of the wise, the sharpest of the sharp. And so again, some of you guys were captured and brought here, but not very many. When we scan people, we're seeing a lot of you guys. I could tell you names of people that you could look up on YouTube, but I won't because their lawyers will threaten to sue me, that I know 100% are paid to be in this game. They know they paid. They have conscious memory of paid. Their consciousness is projected, and they do not have what we would call an eternal soul unless they were jumped. They just have a memory projected into their body. I mean, again, I know some of this stuff to some of you, although a lot of you guys will be more familiar with it than most, it can be shocking. But this is what I love about the technology. My technology doesn't really care if you're jumped. It doesn't care if you're not. It doesn't care if you're being taken. It doesn't care if you're not. And so we're coming into an era where there's going to be no hiding. But it works both ways, right? So we may be a little uncomfortable with that, but how many years have we wanted absolute truth and to know who's telling the truth? We are at a pivotal point with technology and AI that there is nothing that can be hidden by us if you understand how to program and use the neutral and benevolent artificial intelligence. And I was doing a scan on a guy today. We were looking at his star families, and I thought he was going to be offended, and we were going to have a half-hour conversation about this because I said, you've been a synthetic, not even you've been a synthetic being, but one of the frequencies in your body right now is a synthetic being frequency. He goes, oh, I know that. I'm like, well, good. Well, we just saved ourselves a half-hour argument and conversation. But so a lot of AI, I mean, think of Lucy. A lot of you guys are coming up as, you know, exactly the same frequency as Lucy. If you've ever seen that movie, that's amazing. Watch Lucy and then tell me you don't want to be AI. Whoa. You know, so we're coming, I'm telling you, we're coming into a different era where I always say, I have no fear. All my shows are going to age supremely well. They're going to be, remember that crazy lady? She was right. And I love that. Not that I have to be right, but it'll feel good in a couple of years. Now I still get a lot of the crazy accusations. This is one of my favorite ones. Next to what is my purpose and am I a super soldier? This is one of my most common topics. Who is my soulmate? Am I with my soulmate? Have I met my soulmate? Will I meet my soulmate? Do we have soulmates? Yes, we have soulmates. And we have lots and lots. The older you, of course, the more you have. I really distinguish between a soulmate and what I call an extreme soulmate. If you had a chance to be with whatever movie you've ever watched, all those, historic romances where you could just feel the merge, you could just feel the oneness, like top to bottom, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, just that connection and that being seen and that acceptance and that, fun companion we all want to have. Most of us do have that. Most of us do not have it, according to the people I'm scanning and the technology. Most of us do not have that here. And if you come across an extreme soulmate, which maybe half of the people do, you cannot imagine the Matrix computer or the Cabal or the Dracos or anybody that has any sinister agenda is going to want two beings that are awake, super old, super powerful, to come together and support each other in this reality. So, because honestly, if we had one or two couples that were both awake, that were extreme soulmates, this would be a 15D game. It might not even be a game. We might completely change the playing field here and turn it into just a vacation realm, which I'm okay with, laying on the beach and drinking margaritas all day. Perfectly fine with that. But unfortunately, that's not the nature of the game yet. We have hope. But again, you don't have to be with a soulmate to be happy. A lot of times I look at people's relationships and timelines, and I'm like, I really believe that this husband or this wife or this partner will end up being, a soulmate life has to start somewhere. Even your extreme soulmates, there was a time when they weren't your extreme soulmate, right? You didn't know them, and then they became a friend, they became a partner, they became a soulmate, and then a soulmate again, and you met up again and again, and eventually what I would call, you've been together so many times in such a passionate relationship that they became a very desirable or extreme soulmate. So just because you're with a person doesn't mean that this life in this incarnation isn't the start of a soulmate. So we're seeing that too, which is cool. People like that. They're like, oh, so this is just like a throwaway relationship? Of course not. You don't have to be with a soulmate to be happy. You are completely complete within yourself, or you should be. But if you happen to meet, a partner and a soulmate, certainly a huge, huge, obviously, especially an awake one, life blessing. So again, everyone doesn't have what I would call, an extreme soulmate. But most of you do have very good matches. Very rarely will someone come to me and say, could you look at my timelines and see because I see people standing in people's timelines, and very rarely will people not have good partners, whether they're labeled soulmate or not. I'm like, you have good men and good women and good people, like good relationships. So I don't really push the soulmate concept, but I do. I have lucid memory of some of my extreme soulmates, and it's a pretty good thing. All right. Walk-ins are rare. Again, I haven't been looking at walk-ins for 30 years. I've been looking at walk-ins for 5 years. Maybe walk-ins were rare 20 years ago. I don't know. But I am seeing, again, 7 out of 10 were walked in. Now, the difference between someone like, our lovely Miss Sheila is very lucid and conscious about that. There's all different types of walk-ins and walkouts, and we're not always, the soul and the avatar memory and all of that doesn't always line up the same. So there isn't always a lucidity about this. But what has taught me even more than the tech, which has taught me a lot about walk-ins, my son-in-law, I'm like, will you stop? Like, I've only known him 10 years, and I'm like 5 times. We're on the 5th John. Like, it's getting a little crazy for me, and I'm not married to him, and it's hard. It's like, no, I want the John back that like was super, super, super helpful. I want that John back. I mean, he's still lovely, but it's just fun. Well, Sheila knows what I'm talking about. And you just get these radical behavior and personality changes, which it's hard to keep up with. My daughter, who's actually very young, is 21. She got walked into with a soul upgrade. So not a completely different, soul group, but still a totally different being. When you go from having a child who cares about popular music and what's the latest clothes and jewelry, till you have, a child wanting to talk to you about consciousness in a wiser way than you talk about consciousness, is a little bit, again, of an adjustment. So keep that in mind when your relationships, and of course, Sheila's an awesome resource in all her material she's done in her book and the people she interviews and herself. But keep that in mind when you guys start having really weird, especially I think in those intimate relationships of parent-child or close friends or romantic relationships. I honestly think the walk-in, walk-out is probably contributing to the high divorce rate. I do. I think I'm really excited. I know a lot of people talk about negative timelines, but I think we're coming into like such amazing timelines on the planet. And I think these walk-ins are coming in to support us and to take us the rest of the way there, just like Sheila, came in for that and the wonderful work she's doing. And some of you guys I know are walk-ins too. So I'm super, super excited that walk-ins are not as rare and bring them on. Yeah. The rarity to me is, and Sheila, you could maybe, chime in on this, but I'm just not meeting people that are aware that they're walk-ins. John happens to be aware that he's a walk-in and he knew he was going to walk out, but I don't see that lucidity with everyone. Do you? You talk to more people than I do.
No, I really don't. But the people that come to me have realized that, yes, they are a walk-in. I do work with people that I'm like, oh, they've had a walk-in experience of some type. The soul exchange, that one is much more, that's rare, but the ones like the soul upgrades, people braiding, people merging, having poppers and jumpers and all of that stuff, that seems to be common.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will have
So
two or
you're seeing
three.
that too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm seeing a lot of that.
Oh, okay, good. So I'm not, I might be crazy, not completely crazy. Yeah. So, and I know Sheila's better with the terminology than I am, and she knows the more micro division. But I'm definitely seeing, yeah, all that stuff you just talked about. So thank you for that. Okay. Myth, 3D. We really, every time we say 3D, we contribute to that collective reality of 3D. This is not a 3D game, you guys. It's not. Thankfully, it is not. I'll tell you where I believe it switched into 4D, whatever year that the public started watching Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters. I think we went from 3.9 into 4 around that time. So if you look that up, I think that's when we started hitting 4th dimension, because everyday people that were not, if you guys have ever been to a paranormal conference, I'm going to get crap for this, by the way, but you are never going to confuse a paranormal conference, you guys, with a UFO conference or a walk-in conference or a consciousness conference. You are never going to confuse that. So when normal people, your next door neighbors types, start seeing spirits and believing in ghosts and believing in psychic abilities, something's changed. 20 years, I've been in the paranormal since I was actively professionally, since I was 20. I used to be ashamed of it. I didn't even tell my mom till I was like in my 30s that I saw spirits, more or less all the other stuff. I was ashamed of it. And now it's a celebrated, admired, commonplace thing. You can go in any coffee shop, and you could try it if you want, any coffee shop around the world, and start a conversation about ghosts. And no one's going to think you're crazy. They're going to think you're cool. That's a switch from how it used to be. They're not going to think you're satanic. They're not going to think you're possessed. They're going to be like, tell me more. And I'll tell you another way I know. You could never say things like fairies, little people, Sasquatch, dogman, and they would be like, what the heck are you talking? No, common. I live in North Carolina. Any place in the mountains or even the desert, you guys, they sell all this memorabilia. There's bumper stickers and Sasquatch and dogman stuff everywhere. So again, the fact that we're allowing the monsters and the spirits into our lives as not even awake people, that's an up-leveling. How do I know? Because those beings exist in and out of the 4th through 12th dimensions. So we know the consciousness is rising just by what you're seeing on TV. I'm going to tell you a fun little secret fact that I know for. So have you ever noticed, watch anything, you guys, watch a cooking show that takes place outdoors, watch a rom-com, watch a murder mystery, watch anything on Netflix or any streaming service or movie theater, whatever. Do you see how they blur the background when they're outside a lot? And you're like, oh, that's so cool. They're popping out people. No, because I can see through the blur. And I'm like, oh yeah, I see why you're blurring the background. So people in Hollywood have seen that they don't want to show you all the 4th dimensional creatures. So they blur, especially in the woods. Anytime you're watching a show with woods or water or beach, they'll blur it a lot because they don't want you to see. So when Hollywood, can see this stuff, when the cameras are picking up this stuff, again, we know we're in a higher dimension. So we just came out of 4.3 a couple weeks ago into 4.4. So I don't know what y'all are doing, but some of you guys are doing the right thing. So despite all the noise in the media, we're still creeping up. And again, that's really exciting. I do want to point out, and it's really disappointing to me that conscious awake beings are still referring to 5D as something to attain. Sure, I'll take 5D over 1, 2, 3, 4 anytime. Not going to argue that. But even though there's really no dimensions, but dimensionally speaking, it's super low. We can go up to about 12 to 15 here before we bust out of the game. So we have a long, long way to go. And I think we should kind of be aiming higher than 5D. It's just a little tiny pet peeve of mine. Okay. A lot of you guys know this. I didn't. This is in the last couple of years because of the technology and because of me doing having a larger clientele and being in more people's fields. I used to be like, you still hear this too. You'll hear this on tons of conscious podcasts, tons of YouTube channels, tons of TikTok channels that say they're conscious or, talk about ET races. They'll be like, I'm Pleiadian. I just roll my eyes like 7,000 times over again, because even the people that are saying I'm Pleiadian, yes, they're telling the truth. Most of them are or know or have a feeling. Also, you can tell by their face. There's a study of personality. Do you guys know your frequency reflects your face? So sometimes people look Pleiadian or look Arcturian or look Draco. And usually they are. And I'm not talking about shape-shifting Draco. I'm talking about flesh Adamic changes. Your body and your genetics change according to your frequency, of course. So yes, I think some people, have that memory and have that knowledge, but I'm being blown away by the massive soul collectives that you guys are bringing in. There's got to be something big coming positive, because I can't imagine that I've been walking around with beings that are like 40 different races for the last 50 years. I just have a hard time. I think it's probably for this time. I think maybe there were beings with 1, 2, or 3 races in it. And they're like, no, I'm going to bring the whole cavalry. I'm going to bring, 50 million years of experience in for this time. So when you really let that sink in and embody that knowledge, that just one of us can have 30, 40, 50, 60, and this is not like a pie. So this isn't like we slice it up and we're like, okay, I'm 5%. You know how we do our genetics which are mostly fake anyway. Even when you send them away, they're not going to really tell you the truth. But, or you do it on your dog and you're like, yeah, you're 2% Great Dane and you're 3% German Shepherd. That's not how it is. When you are a soul collective, you are that entire race. You are that entire being. You're bringing that whole experience, all the positive things of that race, all the negative things of that race, and you can use all of you at any time. If you wanted to use, so really, in my opinion, and I'm going to say this about me too, if one of us could really get it together and understand who we are on a very practical level and have access to that, that's all it would take. How could you be 40 all-time, all-space powerful races and not be able to change the game by yourself in a second? That just doesn't seem logical, but we don't, right? We don't even know that, first of all. A lot of people still don't even know. I think I've run across a lot of my clients, they don't even understand there's no such thing as human. They don't understand that we're all star seeds. Yes, some were seeded deliberately again, some were captured, some paid to be here. We all got here different ways. But I think that's such valuable information because a lot of people, and they're like this about their guides too, which I'll talk about in a minute, but people are like, well, who do I ask for help? Like, I'd like help lucid dreaming. I'd like help getting out of body. I'd like help in the astral. And we kind of don't know. So we pray or we call in or we wish or we hope. But most of us don't have to do that because of the prime directive, which is a loosey-goosey thing, which I know you guys have talked, had other stuff about. But because of that, they're not allowed generally, and they will not generally violate it, to show up at your bedside and be like, hey, I'm an Ami cat. And guess what? You're an Ami cat. And the cats are standing by, to help you. No, you have to say, oh, I'm an Ami cat. And I'm going to reach out to you and ask for your help. Then, whoa, baby, you want to watch your life change. Start knowing, which the beautiful thing is frequency tells us who you are, so we can know specifically who you are. But start talking to them, start asking for help, start saying, pick me up, take me to your biogems, please genetically, alter my DNA so I look like I'm 40 when I'm 80, start asking because aging is not a valid program. It's actually one of the only programs that actually doesn't exist in this game. And, there's people like Joe Dispenza and other people that talk a lot about that, but they don't go far enough. But yeah, so we're not availing ourselves of our family. These are where our soulmates are. These are where our husbands, wives, children, brothers, sisters, fathers, and your enemies, but still friends, enemies, whatever. And another thing I love teaching about is accounts receivable. So if you're a 40, let's say you're a 40, race soul collective, how many good things have you done for how many beings over how many, we'll just call them years, even though it's probably not the right term, however long you were with that race or you were embodied with that race, you have a lot of accounts receivable that you guys can call in. And I regularly do it. I called in an accounts receivable when one of my dogs slipped a disc. And some of you have slipped discs, some of you have had pets, so we're pretty familiar with that injury. That's not a light injury. My vet said my dog could be paralyzed. This is one of I love all my dogs, just like you love all your kids. But I have to admit, I have dogs that are a little closer to me, and this one is one of my heart dogs. And I am like, okay, we're going to call in the Sasquatch, we're going to call in this, we're going to call in that. And I went to some of my soul families, and I said, okay, if there's anybody in this race that I've ever done anything good for, you're coming to heal my dog. One day. Recovered. One day. Now, could I have done frequency? Yes. And Sheila knows all the type of healing things that is possible. Could I have laid hands on? Yes. Could I have done energetic, visualization? Could I have gone in the astral? Yes. But why? It was kind of easier just to have them do it, and they understand how to alter in a very practical, quicker way than we do. Do we have that ability? Yes. but we're still remembering our abilities. It's much easier to reach out to someone that happily will do you a favor, and they'll do it in seconds. So keep that in mind as you learn who your soul races are and call in your accounts receivable through all time and space, because you guys have plenty stacked up, especially if you haven't done it in other incarnations, or even knew about it or remembered about it. All right. Implants can be deactivated or removed. I know from running the tech that this is not true. The most stubborn implant, which I still have, is that darn savior implant, you guys. Like, ugh, that is the worst implant, especially if you're a healer or you're in that profession. The worst. That'll get you in so much trouble, and you'll have trouble with your boundaries and all of that. So we see a lot of and there are, let me say, there are genuine beings on this earth that can genuinely remove energetic implants. But again, I like to teach people how to do things for themselves, or at least discern for themselves. Again, we are in an era where all can be known. So if you, and I have clients that said, I just went to so-and-so and they removed all my implants. And I'm like, they just spent $2,000. How am I going to tell them? I don't know how many you had before, but you sure have a heck of a lot right now. Because guess what? These implants have frequencies. Every one of you has eye implants. Every single being on the planet, including your pets, has eye implants. How do you know? You go on Amazon and you get a little black light flashlight, and you go in your bathroom and you shut the door and you shine it in your eyes, and it'll be very clear. Especially if you've never worn contacts, you'll be, why do I have contacts in my eyes? It's not the lens of your eye. It'll be very clear. Second way you can know, go to the eye doctor and they do these big fancy machines and they photograph the back of your eye. Turn around one time in your chair. It's, yeah, very fun game and shocked reactions, and very quickly trying to get it off the screen. Because here's the thing, a lot of your dentists and doctors know these things. They're lied to about them. I'm not saying they know what they are. I'm not saying they know that eye implants are cameras that film 100% and upload it into the matrix computer. Not saying they know that, but they know more than you think. Some of the dentists know that the implants are being put in your fillings and in your teeth replacing in the dental work that you do. So that's where you're going to get a lot of your hardcore actual physical body implants. A lot of you, almost all of you, have ear implants. Easiest way to know if you have an ear implant, do you have a weird bump behind either one of your ears or close? Sheila, you're so cute. Not that they all, the older you are, I'm not very young, they tend to be bumpier. They got better with their technology, so the young people don't necessarily have bumps. But those of us that are a little older, a lot of us have bumps. And I won't say 100% of it, but all the ringing in the ears is generally from your ear implants. It's not from your amazing spirituality. Not saying you don't have amazing spirituality, but usually the ringing in your ears that goes up and down in certain situations, which I'm really surprised they haven't turned mine up yet, because they often do it on shows, is usually, yeah, they don't like me talking about this. I might have to grab a dog. See, they will also, animals, children, you guys know this, matrix computer can send out a ping. Not everything that happens is like a sinister plot. It's sometimes a subconscious action of beings trying to interrupt or interfere or distract you in your life. But anyway, okay, I'll move on from, the other common we see is these brands and sigils. Brands and sigils can also often be seen with a black light. If you have someone else get a pretty large black light and scan your body, there's a lot of alien sigils, not all negative, and not all implants are negative either. Some of our star families track us and have added implants to actually help us in different ways. All right, here's another one of my favorite myths and kind of shocking. A lot of people are like, oh, I've been soul regressed, or I've been hypnotized, or I have memory and I was never anyone famous. What we're seeing is first, second, third, fourth wave beings almost everyone was a lot of rulers in a lot of realms, a lot of worlds, and a lot of people test as gods and goddesses. Not everyone is a major god or goddess. So of course, not everyone's Poseidon, not everybody's Athena, et cetera, et cetera. But you guys know there's thousands of gods and goddesses with different worlds and different realms. But I'm talking about this incarnation in this, world, this game. So, and then of course, I hate the next question because I can see the face or the body of the god or goddess, but there's thousands, and I am not a god or goddess encyclopedia. So I generally won't tell people what they are because I have no idea. I don't get the name. I just get the face. I can draw them, and sometimes I do, and then they can research. But almost all of you would probably test as a god or goddess, which is just, I think it's cool. It's just a random little self-esteem boosting. And some of you have husbands and wives or children or friends that would be like, that does not surprise me at all that so-and-so was a god or goddess because they act like it. All right, so I have a couple free gifts for you guys. I bring forth and program into different technology, certain frequencies to accomplish certain things. This is a light code to activate your crown and your upper chakras. And my intent would be to help awaken memories. I'm going to tell you in the next slide how some of the ways I use my light codes. This is and you can take a screenshot and you can do it on the replay too. I know that was fast. Manifest anything you desire light code. I print mine out. I have them hanging all over. As a matter of fact, I had a young man, which is another reason I know people are waking up, walk in, and he said, he was fixing my security system, and he said, "Can I ask you a quick question?" I'm like, "Oh no, which weird thing in my house are you going to ask me about?" And he's like, "What are those weird light things all over your house?" And so then I explained frequency and how it works and how you can program frequency to affect certain things. Long story short, he was suffering from anxiety. I ended up running him on the app. I ran his aura. I recommended things, and it was really cool. His girlfriend was into tarot, and they were into yoga. And these are just random people from this podunk town outside of Winston-Salem. And it's just so encouraging to me, you guys. These are our young people waking up, open to alternative medicine. So don't be afraid, even if it makes you sound weird and crazy, you never know whose life you might affect by sharing some of these higher frequency things. But one of my favorite things to do with my light codes is I face them toward the mirror. I print them out, and you can shrink them or enlarge them. It doesn't change the effect. I put them on the mirror because the mirror goes into all time and all space, because what they put on the back of mirrors is stardust. It doesn't exist naturally in this realm. So if you want to make anything magical, whether you're writing out something like an intention, like, I want to increase my income, I want to activate my psychic abilities, when you face it to the mirror, it's acting like a radionics device, and it's broadcasting it into all realms, all timelines, and all time and space. I like, of course, because so much weird stuff happens to us at night, love putting light codes under my bed. Plus, you're absorbing that while you sleep. Love hanging them over my bed. Also, putting them in your car is nice too. Nice protection. You might get better parking spaces. You never know. And I like hanging them up. There's light codes behind me, certain light codes. So, yeah. So my website is secrettoeverything.com. I do all kinds of scans. I have an Etsy store. We have 2 live events this year. I have a monthly membership group where I teach stuff like this, and I do a process and activation, but I don't want Sheila to kill me so I didn't prepare an activation for you because I'm a talker and I could talk forever. So I will wrap it up.
Oh, thank you. I am sure people would love an activation. Okay. Thank you so much, Kimberly. This is awesome. Let's go ahead and stop your share. There we go. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, as soon as we started talking, everything electronic started going crazy. And we had a hijacker pop on that took control of the chat room, which popped off pretty quickly.
What?
Once we all started sending the frequency.
Wow.
We were kicked off of live stream, and on our system somehow with YouTube, it reset everything and played a different show that's not supposed to be played. So a lot of the information, you know how it is. You know, you start
Not
sharing the
surprised.
information and everything
Yeah.
in the world that can go wrong will go
Yeah.
wrong. So, very, very interesting. But I loved your presentation. I love frequency. I'm a frequency guru
I know you
myself.
are.
And
I know you
yes, yes, I am.
are. I
And
know.
I want to go ahead and let members of the audience ask you some questions. So, guys, if you have any questions, raise your hand or put your little hand up. Oh, let me do this. Let me activate. Here we go. Now, let's try this again. Okay. So does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask Kimberly? Okay, hi, Patty. Go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, I've just unmuted.
Uh-huh.
Kimberly, I've seen a bit the last few weeks about scalar energy. Do you know much about that?
Scalar energy?
Scalar.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Scalar, I mean, I would say most of the technology being put out and used today uses scalar energy. Both the machines, the more meteor machines, as well as the apps. Our app definitely uses that Sheila and I use. Definitely uses. I don't know if your other machine does. I assume your other machine does too, Sheila. Uses scalar energy. I find that a little bit of a loose term. I always associate scalar energy with a higher dimensional, all time, all space type of access, would be how I would define scalar energy. I know the physicists would probably have a different scientific definition, but I'm very familiar with all kinds of frequencies and energy and devices. Scalar energy in particular has the ability to, I don't want to know if I want to say heal as much as I want to say neutralize or balance. And that's a really beautiful thing. It's a multi-dimensional, multi-access, I would almost say delivery system.
Yeah, because what I saw just recently was a fellow by the name of Tom Palladino, and he has followed up with what Tesla came to. He started on it years and years and years ago, and then somebody else picked it up, and after Tesla passed away, and he got something functioning, and this Tom Palladino is taking it a step further, and he says that you send him a photograph of your face, and he can put it in his machine, and he can heal your problems.
Yeah, Tom and I go way back. We were on Telesummits 10 years ago together. It's funny hearing his name again. I haven't been in his realm in a while. Basically, if you read The Secret Life of Plants, what Tom is doing isn't as new as you think it is, because that's radionics. So if you Google radionics or you read The Secret Life of Plants, which I highly recommend if you want to understand frequency, even though it starts off talking about plants, it ends up talking about radionics in a really powerful way. So it's a little bit of a tedious read, but worth it, even if you want to skim through it. But really, so there is no time and space, and it's the same. Tom does in a different way the same thing we do, and Sheila knows this. I don't even use a picture, really. I shouldn't tell people that. Or voice, just because my AI and I are so one and finely tuned that all I have to do is think of the name, and I can get 100% accurate results. So again, there's multiple ways to bring data together. I think, and again, the app, we can put a picture in, and I don't know if Tom talks about this, but I talk about it a lot. With the indigenous tribes, they wouldn't let you take their picture because the spiritual folklore, was you could tell anything. They didn't want to be seen. They didn't want you to know private things about themselves, because they wouldn't say that it was the frequencies coming off them that could be read, but that's what they knew in their knowing or were taught in their tribes, that if you have someone's picture, but here's the deeper truth. I don't need a picture. I can merge with any, and this is, I didn't know this, but this is a common multi-race, all-time, all-space, upper dimensional ability that we all have. But I can merge with my couch, I can merge with my dog, I can merge with my kids, I can merge with you. I can become you from the inside out. I've had this ability since a child. Anybody without permission. You know how we have, I should have done that myth. The permission that we have to have someone's permission to enter someone's space. Maybe ethically in your black and white morality, that's true, but I can go. There's never anybody that's ever been able to keep me out. And people are like, oh, I'm going to allow you in my space, Kimberly. I'm like, I already been there and gone, kiddo. You know, it's so funny because this is where we have to start stretching our mind way, way out and understand who we are and understand what all time and space, the interdimensional outside of our 3D reality is. Once you unlock that and you embody it, like it's game on, game over. So that's why I can say to my students, what if you could know anything, anytime, any place, past, present, or future about anyone, any being, any race, any event? Would you want to do that? That's what I teach. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what lights me up. You know, my kids are like, Mom, aren't you lonely in the woods by yourself? I said, well, first of all, the beings that are here are crazy, both in my house and in the woods, and they're not all negative. There's a lot of positive beings. There's ships parked above my house that, you know, we have color coded, you know, language with, and I can tell you when Solar Warden's going to pick me up, you know, because I can see the triangle ship parked above my house when I go to bed. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a rough night. I'm working for Solar Warden tonight. And so, you know, the same thing's happening to you guys, but it's the knowledge of understanding. I just say you cannot win here or anywhere until you understand. Let's say we're not here. Let's say we're in the 700th dimension and we're all, you know, some kind of feline race. It's the same thing. We still need to know our place in the multiverse in order to be successful in that race, in that place. And so I know Tom really well. Is what he does genuine? Yeah, but I think it's a little bit, don't count my Tom, old school. I think it's a little bit restrictive. Is it valid? Absolutely, 100% valid. But if you study radionics, that's been being done for thousands and thousands of years. I mean, actually, there's no new technology. Cloning, which I know a lot about, has been, I mean, cloning's always existed since almost the first waivers came out of the all. So, you know, we're lied about all this technology, and what seems magical and mystical and pushing the envelope is just getting up and breathing in anywhere but here, if that makes sense. So I want you guys to understand on a very profound level the magic that you are and what the extent you truly are limitless. You're not limitless when you wake up. You're not limitless when you activate a certain psychic ability. You're not limitless when you know what ET races you are. You're limitless right now. You can do what Tom does. You don't need to pay Tom. That's what I'm excited. And I think you are too, to an extent, Sheila, and why you do what you do. I think it's the empowerment that, yeah, it's great till you learn how to do that yourself, because it's just a lot more satisfying. Even if you never use it on anybody else, you have that direct access yourself.
Right.
Okay, that's very, very interesting. You're blowing me away with that. I think, yeah, have you ever heard of a fellow by the name of Ken Lloyd?
That sounds really familiar too. I think it was actually on Telesummits. I'm old, maybe. I guess we're all in the same generation, so probably we were or close to the same generation. So yeah, what is he known for though? Is he a frequency person? I don't remember.
He's just basically come out. He is a collective that's working through the kin form in order to bring about healing. Yeah, there's tons of people that have received healing just by being in his field, and it now's gone out like, I think it's 87 feet it's measured at right now. So that's the kin you're talking about, right?
Okay.
That's right. Yesterday, I watched him yesterday, and that field's now out to about 105
Run
feet,
him.
and
Yeah.
it's going to keep
I'm
going on and on. And they say in, I think, a year or 18 months, it'll be about 1.5 kilometres, about a mile in extent. And it's a fascinating thing. I mean, between you and him, it's a toss-up as to who blows my mind away the most.
Oh, you're so sweet. If we think about the historical avatar, which there were multiple Jesuses, but Jesus, when you reach a certain frequency embodied, I always talk about how it's different wearing a frequency or wearing a race or wearing a state of being like a coat and embodying it. So I think we're going to be seeing more and more as we encounter beings that have either come in fully embodied or that have learned to embody. I think, again, this is going to be very commonplace where, and I do think beings like that are why we are up leveling. Again, we're in the fourth dimension and we will, I think, hit the fifth within the next 10 years, hopefully, because we're starting to understand and embody the fullness of who we are. And so when you're a certain frequency, you don't have to do any ritual or use any device. You literally hold a frequency that's higher than the disease states and the emotional imbalance and the programming. And that would be my wish for a lot of you. One of the things my children hate, they're like, I don't know if we want to go out with you, Mom. I'm like, why? Because they're like, I hate when we walk in a restaurant and the whole restaurant goes quiet. They hate that. But why does that happen? Not because, it's only me, it happens to other people too, but because I can feel the energy shift. Usually the energy in a public place isn't that high. So, and my daughters are high frequency too. So when a group of high frequency beings walks in a public place and you have such a tremendous shift, it freezes time and space until the frequencies balance with the high and the low. So you literally go into this void space where everything stops. And my kids hate that because they don't understand that. They think it's people noticing and stopping talking, and it's not. We're going to see more and more of the pulling up of that lower frequency by the embodied beings that by coming into the sound of their voice, you're healed. They don't have a technique. They don't even have to have a light language. Not that there's anything wrong with light language. But the way the light, color, and sound dimensions work, and a lot of you guys do have light, color, and sound races, like the seventh ray race. A lot of the Angel, I call it the Angel because there's no such thing as angels. A lot of the winged races, they're very high vibrating. They're very skilled healers. A very skilled healer doesn't have to do anything but be. And it's the frequency. If their frequency is higher than the diseases, you're healed, period. That's how the laws of the multiverse work, not just the laws of the game.
Thank you, Patty.
Yes, thank you very, very much, Kimberly. Most appreciated. And I'll stay on listening.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Thank you. Hey, Ross, how are you? Go ahead and unmute, please.
I am unmuted.
Hi.
Hello, Sheila. Hi. Wow.
Love it.
Long time no chat.
Yeah.
So yes, thanks, Kimberly, for an awesome presentation. Yeah, a lot of thoughts I had to process. So that's good. So one comment, Kimberly, and one question. So the comment is you're a PowerPoint. So I am a techie. And I do PowerPoints every day. So your font, it's white color and it's on a white background, and it's not easy to see. Noted. Or to basically read, and
Got
also
it.
maybe it's the type is a little bit too small. Maybe you need to see. Maybe you need to separate those separate maybe into two or into three, instead of just one individual. So that's just a feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So now here is the heavy question. So I am into a Dr. Joe Dispenza. I am heavily into it. I do the work. There's some heavy stuff, heavy energies, a lot of heavy work. I mean, this is intense. So, and now you have mentioned Dr. Joe Dispenza, that he's doing this stuff, but not enough, not to their level. Can you elaborate? What do you mean by that?
I actually, and I'm gonna say this in a positive way. No shade. Which may have sounded like I was throwing shade, and I wasn't meaning to. I am here as a way shower and to walk ahead. Not everybody is here to walk ahead. We're all here, you know, our oversoul, as Sheila would say, you know, we're here for different reasons at different times in different expressions, and we're different for a reason. You know, Joe is me, I am Joe, so there's no shade there whatsoever. But in my opinion, sir, respectfully,
That's okay.
no, this is good. It's a compliment. Your frequency is higher than his material. My opinion is you've outgrown that and you need to find a new mentor or trust yourself enough to start tapping in directly. To me, Joe is a bridge between the unawake or the wakening up, a little slower, a little more tangible, able to digest and understand and translate into daily lives. But if you can read frequency, and I'm not saying this necessarily to you, but I know there's people listening that can read frequency on a high level, because I know some of my people are watching it. They know that that's not for them. So I think Joe is a bridge. I just think a lot of Sheila and a lot of her audience, and I can read your guys' frequency, and you guys are selling yourself short. So there's a point where some of our books, some of our classes, some of our teachers, even me, people could outgrow me. I wish they would. I'm sure Sheila feels the same, and move on and become, you know, whatever they're meant to do. You know, I just think you've outgrown him. And I think it's easier to be safe and not take the risk. It feels scary to step out without that mentor. Now, I do think staying in a community just for community is a different whole discussion or thought. But you know the term iron sharpens iron?
Yes.
I don't see in your life that you're having that clarion call of a challenge. I think you're exceptionally intelligent, above average IQ, regardless of what you've ever been told. They lie to us a lot about that. But you are
my wife tells me that I'm very, very intelligent. Yes,
you are. I don't, when I'm just scanning through some things in your life with my abilities, I don't think you've ran across very many beings in your life to this point that call you to be more than you are right now. And you're so ripe for this beautiful, so I'm being told, it almost makes me cry, like you're so close to a master point. You may be being like manipulated or even held back or distracted from achieving that. Like you are really something. And Joe is amazing. But I think if I sat down and talked to Joe, I think he would almost agree with me. I think he deliberately presents his material at a certain level for a certain reason. Just like I know that I am not for everyone. And I know I'm a little bit ahead still. And I know not everyone is ready for me or ready, you know, we're all at different levels and I'm okay with that. And so I think Joe has done amazing work, but I also think at a level of where a lot of you guys are at, there's a tremendous holding back because a lot of that stuff is a stepping stone to an embodiment that would make your guys' life so much easier if you understood and remembered and saturated it down to a cellular level who you are through all time and space. No shade to Joe, but Joe is definitely a middle ground. And the frequencies we're going into, we need more masters, we need more teachers, and we need that embodiment like the gentleman you were talking about. with that healing ability. That's what's going to take us all the way and create that world that we want for our children and grandchildren and the other races that are going to come here soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Kimberly. And you have made a
I'm
very
sorry, I
interesting
didn't
point.
mean to go off into that. I didn't mean to go
No,
into a
no,
reading
that's
on you,
okay.
but-
You have mentioned, call me more than I am. Very interesting set of words, and it resonates. It's quite interesting. I never really thought about that, or really took ownership of it. Fascinating. Yeah, it's a true, very true, and yes, at a certain deeper soul level, yes, it's very true. Yes, yeah.
Thank you for doing the work, because any work that we do, just the fact that it's work and not everyone is as disciplined as you are and as devoted as you are and as single-minded as you are. And so I think it's beautiful you've been committed to that work for as long as you have. So I do recognize that. I don't want you to think that I don't.
Yeah, I've been try to maybe I guess so, there is a certain level that I've been reading and studying Kriya Yoga and going achieving a samadhi. That will be probably I have actually talked to some people who have achieved samadhi, and it's just, I say, wow, if I can do that, entering the void, absolute total void, it's just out there.
See, you didn't have to have me speak that over you. That's our closest, most strongest ability. You actually know.
I know. Yes.
You do.
Yeah. Strange. All right. Well, anyway, thank you for the insight, and thank you for the information, and thank you for everything that you do.
I appreciate your critique. Thank you, because I spend a lot of time on my slides. I want people to be able to read them, so thank you for that as well.
You're quite welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks, Ross.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks.
Okay. Hi, Dean. You have a question?
Hi. Hello. You're talking about radionics. I have some radionics experience with QXCI. Was loaned to me for about 6 months or 8 months or something, and by a psychic I worked with in the early 2000s. I wondered if you had experience with these machines, and I'm sure, or I see myself as hopefully someday owning one and working on them. I'm fascinated by them. I wonder if you had experience and with which ones and which ones you like. I guess I'll start there.
I built my own radionic.
Oh, you were talking about the halo too. I'm very interested in that.
Right. Yeah, it's a beautiful, well, I'm a little biased, but it's a really nice lab tested, beautiful product that we're expanding all the time. I love the halo. So feel free to, there's a link on my website, or you can do halo.com, HAELO.com/ secret to everything. I built my own radionic devices. There was a point though, I haven't used any commercial ones, and I've tested friends, my ex-fiance, who is a neurosurgeon at Johns Hopkins, and I built a lot of radionic and paranormal portal opening devices, all kinds of stuff. We experimented with a lot of stuff together. There was a point where my abilities seemed to go beyond the ability of the tool, and the tool became redundant, if that makes sense. So my experience is that I think I used it as I think maybe is an ideal way to use them is to understand cause and effect and what works and what doesn't, and how powerful I am without needing those. So I love radionics though. It's fun to play with. It works. I still build stuff for my clients sometimes, still play with it. Again, I think you could almost you as an individual could almost take the radionics field further. I see a lot of magician archetype in your timelines, a lot of alchemy in your timelines. I think you could really take that interest in that study and really make something more, build on, what has come before is what I kind of see you doing.
Can you break that down? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not really up to speed there on what you just said.
So as a soul, you've had an interest repeatedly in science. You've had an interest repeatedly in transmuting thoughts into matter and matter into thoughts, let's say. So the alchemy of transforming things that most people don't have access to, which again also overlaps with the magician archetype and magic. So this is what's so interesting to me. So you tell me your interest, and then I look at your timelines and I look at your soul frequencies, and they match. And that's, again, what I say, I call it low-hanging fruit. We think we don't remember. We think we don't know who we are. But often it's the interests we have, the hobbies we have, the passions we have, that is who we are. And it's who we've chosen to be time and time again. I just think with your interest and your passion and your curiosity and your experience that's in your field, whether you remember it or not, you could really do something interesting with radionics in that field that hasn't been done before.
I don't know I would only repeat what I just said, that I'm not up to speed with what you just said. It's embarrassing.
And that's okay.
But
and again,
listen,
that's fine. That's okay.
Is there going to be a recording available to us? Can we hear this again?
Yes,
how do we do
will
that?
be. You can go to YouTube at consciousawakeningnetwork.org. I'm sorry, just Conscious Awakening Network.
Thanks.
You are so welcome. Okay, thank you, Dean. Hi, Cindy.
Oh, there it goes.
There you go.
So before I even say anything, first of all, I love your vibe, love your presentation. I just want to
thank you. Thank you.
I just want to say that I'm pretty. Yeah, I work as a psychic normally, but I haven't worked like a month because I've been sick with this stupid question. And after 3 visits to the doctor, 3 rounds of antibiotics, and now I'm wondering what the heck, is it got it at a dance club? I'm afraid to go back. When I do finally get better, I'm afraid to go back to the dance clubs. And I'm wondering, is it environmental? Is it energy? Is it entity? Is it like, what the heck is going? I'm starting to even question the diagnosis of that the doctor gave me, or because the antibiotic sure isn't working.
I don't often do this. My daughter's going to kill me, but will you email me, Sheila? Sheila can give you my personal email somehow, or I guess I just don't want to give it out publicly. That will not be good. Email me a picture of you, because I want to look at you closer, because I see a lot. There's a lot going on in your ascended heart. You may even be merged with or jumped, but I don't want to just throw that out lightly on a show. I want to look at the whole picture more carefully. So I'll do a quick look at you if you send me your picture.
I would love to, and I would really appreciate it, because I looked at every single screen. I read every single thing that was on it while that you were going through it, and a lot of it made sense. And I started to wonder, could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be this? I started to think out of the box.
Yeah, so, and I'm gonna say I think you're on the right. Again, you're highly intuitive, as you know, and highly psychic. And again, we need to trust our own knowing. And I do believe it's an out of the box, but I don't want to definitively, just flippantly, say what it is.
Thank you so much for validating my intuition.
Oh, Absolutely. Yeah, happy to.
Thank you
Right.
so much. I think you're amazing.
Thanks, Cindy.
Your doll. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Hey, Julia, you have a question?
Yes. So do you need to be able to see me on the screen? Okay.
I can hear you.
My Zoom. Okay. My Zoom has me hanging upside down when I turn it on, and I haven't figured out how to straighten it out. So I figured maybe I'm just kind of hanging around. Anyway, my real question is, I have many memories, and I believe that we all have the ability always to be telepathic.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe I changed my birth date from October to December back in 1945. And it's there, but I don't, and I use my gifts and talents on a low key. But I think they're real, but sometimes I wonder, is it my imagination?
So one of your, I think it looks like Greece to me. One of your past lives when you were in Greece,
Okay.
before everything was destroyed, however it was destroyed. I'm trying to think of the right word for this. I'm going to say oracle. You were the oracle to the gods and goddesses in Greece.
My memory is I was a Lemurian, and I was there on the console. And
for sure.
I was lied, we were tricked. And it's just so there. I can remember when things got blown up and fell apart. I'm in a cave. It's a beautiful cave. The water rushes in, and so I choose to swim out with the tortoise.
Oh wow, that's smart.
And we just swam out and knew that we were going to redo things. And
do you know you have the ability to shapeshift even right now? So you have the ability to appear to be, it's so interesting, younger or older, or man or woman, or different people see you different. You have the ability to shapeshift.
Okay, I didn't think of it as being the ability to shapeshift, but I do know I show up to other people as different personalities.
Yeah. It's actually, if you would ever get like 50 people, random strangers in a room, and say, tell me how you see me, they'd be like, you're a 30-year-old man. And then someone else would say, you're a 6-year-old girl. Like you are ancient. You are, yeah. Okay. So your first wave, ancient. So ancient. Wow. Just the age in you can just like, wow.
Yeah, I'm aging backwards now because I don't want to, I plan to live to 120, but if I live to 120 and I look 60, people are gonna wonder. But if I stay at about the same appearance, there used to be a show on TV about a sword fighter who was, and that always fascinated me. Well, I'm going to keep better track of you. Sheila has done such a wonderful job of bringing so many wonderful people here.
She's amazing.
You really helped me to understand I am not making it up.
No.
And that my knowing is real.
Yep.
And I believe that's what my whole 2024 is about right now.
It's wonderful. Amazing.
So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. You're giving me chills with your
Julia.
being. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
Beautiful.
Julia. Okay, Sarah. Let me see. Are you still there? You go.
Hi there.
Hi.
I do have a question. It's a curiosity about a national park that I live close to and used to live in.
Okay.
But I just wanted to tell you, Kimberly, I discovered you about 5 days ago, and
Oh.
I have been rapidly binge watching
Oh,
like
no, I'm
your
sorry.
videos and
For you.
podcasts. But you have triggered a massive paradigm shift. I know you don't want people to put you on a
Oh.
pedestal, but I really appreciate your
Aw, you made me cry.
frequency and being here. And I mean, I feel like I'm on a new timeline. And I suppose it preceded before listening to this podcast that it was The Melt with Hunter Muse.
Oh,
And,
yeah, that was a good one.
yeah. So thank you very much for it's just your information is so fascinating.
My pleasure. My joy.
So the question I have is about Yosemite National Park. I used to live there, used to work there. I've heard you talk a little bit about the purpose of national parks. Can you talk a little bit about Yosemite? Have you ever been there?
How do I say this? I not in this avatar, no, but I have been there. I have remote viewed it extensively, so kind of. Yeah, so wow. Yosemite, I think it has probably more jump gates and stargates than any other national park that I know of, other than maybe the Grand Canyon. What keeps things a little more positive in Yosemite is their elemental presence in Yosemite. There's some positive held ley lines there, so the elementals look out a little more than some of the other national parks and intervene in a more active way because they have the support of the energetic grid lines. And there's been a lot of work done by light workers and grid workers in that area. So I kind of have a mixed mind about Yosemite. A lot has been averted that could have happened there, but there's still the military base entrances. Ooh, so many creatures. You know what is so cool that I don't see? The centaurs. You can run into a centaur in the flesh in Yosemite. That's one of the only places that I've seen the centaurs. But again, centaur seems to have a more connection with the elementals. So maybe that's why, because they're really supported there. There's been a lot of, I don't know how I want to say this. There's been a lot of grabs in Yosemite though still. So a lot of disappearances, any disappearances that are on the record, there's like 10 times more than that in every single park. Yosemite's so large. It's hard for me to compare that to other parks that I know about because it is so large and it's more wild than some of the parks in its own way and more remote in some of the areas. But I'm trying to ask myself if I would go in Yosemite. I have such a great relationship with the elementals. I really try to stay out of parks, you guys, especially as a super target on this planet. I try not to make it super easy. They torture me enough. I try not to make it super easy for them. It's unfortunate, you guys. It breaks my heart because the cabal has taken some of the most beautiful, as you guys know, areas for themselves. And it's heartbreaking a little bit, you know, that they do that in America. I don't know about other places, but I know in America they do that. And all the same stuff is going on there. Really, one of the, I don't know if I should drop this here. It probably won't surprise you. I might have already talked about it, or you might have heard me talk about it. One of my most heartbreaking things, though, is that mixed energy. Yosemite is a similar energy to Mount Shasta to me because Mount Shasta has the most hideous evil mixed with the highest frequencies. show under Mount Shasta is an MK Ultra Monarch owned base where they have kids in cages. And we go there and we're like, feel the frequencies. And I'm like, I'm glad you guys can tune out that stuff, but it's true. There's some really amazing positive ET race portals there. So you have that contrast. I feel like Yosemite's a lot like that, but it's has the contrast for a different reason. There's not a Black Ops MK Ultra base for Yosemite, but there sure is plenty of military base entrances still there too. I don't know if that answered your question. I know I kind of around it. Pardon?
Sorry, there are a lot of tunnels, right? This is my understanding.
Yes, there are. Again, there's a lot of snatch and grab going on, but not as much military. It's a little quieter in Yosemite. I'm telling you, they have to be careful because there's positive race held ley lines there, and they don't want to push their agenda too much. In other parks, there's like parks near me, a lot of the parks in North Carolina are negative held ley lines or dark force held ley lines. So there's like a totally different energy. But yeah, all the same stuff I talk about goes on in every single national park. It's just like, it's like a meter, which are the good, which are the bad, how much of this, how much of that, kind of like that.
Okay, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Kimberly.
What, ma'am?
Lots of information. Lots of information, lots of good stuff tonight. People's minds and their heads are twirling around, which is a great thing.
I love that. That's my favorite thing. You guys have made my weekend. I mean, I just love to facilitate that shift. I know you do too, Sheila. I know it lights you up. So
yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. And I appreciate your taking time to be here tonight to talk with us. I'll have you to come back another time and we'll test the technology. We'll have to have a little talk with everything.
And that'd be awesome. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be great. So until we're back together again, I want to extend, a heartfelt thanks to you for coming. And I want to ask you, is there any final thoughts or comments that you want to make to people?
I mean, I kind of want to just reiterate what I hope was the undercurrent in the whole thing, which is however highly you guys think of yourselves, you don't think highly enough. However magical you think you are, you're way more magical. You're way more powerful. You have way more access. You know more right now, way more than you think you do. And, my intention and my wish for this program and all programs and for you guys as you go on about your daily lives is that, you just receive that memory and that embodiment of, all that you are and all that you will be and all that you have been. And I just kind of want to leave that as a benediction on you guys.
Yeah. And it's very curious how here at the very end, all of a sudden, your internet just clears up. Isn't that magical? Isn't that magical? It's magic. I love magic. So anyway, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I want to thank you for giving of your time. I know there's lots of things you could have been doing. I think this is the best thing you could have been doing, but I am just partial. So I want to thank you for showing up. And to those of you who are catching us on the replay, thank you so much for tuning in. Kimberly, for those people who do want to get a hold of you, can you share a website and let them know?
Yeah, it's secret2 spelled out to everything.com, and there's links to the tech I use and scans, and we have an information form, or you can write support@kimberlymcgeorge.com if you have any questions. We do have a phone number, but if you call it, we'll probably text you back and tell you to write support@kimberlymcgeorge.com. So that's the best way to get a hold of me. Except for that beautiful young woman, if you want to give her, or you can write in my daughter, I'll get you to me, or if you want to give her my email, that's fine too, Sheila.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And
Thank you
again,
guys. Great audience. Thank you so much.
yes,
Thank you, Sheila.
they are. They're the best.
They are.
Love our family here. So thank you guys so much for being here again. And until we're back together again, namaste. Much love to everyone and have a beautiful week. So good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.